So, hello everyone. Welcome back as it's time for the fourth session of the day, whose focus is mainly on the fascinating journey of Power BI, Power BI's evolution with MS Fabric and Copilot. So, presented by none other than Misbah Uddin. Regarding Misbah, he brings to the table a wealth of experience in analytics, currently leading as the charge of a manager at EY, where he spearheads innovation, analytics, and projects. His background is impressive and diverse, having played pivotal roles from mentoring up and coming talents at the Institute of Emerging Careers to enhancing client data services and with strategic insights at Affinity. Misbah's expertise is in navigating the complex landscape of data visualization and business intelligence, so we expect a session filled with valuable knowledge, practical examples, and forward-thinking strategies. So let's give him a warm welcome and let's dive into the world of advanced analytics together. So you can start, Misbah.
Thank you, Abad, for the very warm introduction. And let me just share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, let me just a second. Let me do one thing. Me. Okay, there's no option of that. Okay, anyway, I'll just share it like that. Okay, so hello everyone. So today, what we are going to be discussing is like what's been the journey of Power BI and how it has evolved during these times, and how you know the entire evolution after post AI era. We see a lot of things changing in the landscape, as well as reporting and data analytics landscape of Microsoft. So how does that impact Power BI? And we'll also going into some of the timeline from the beginning, how it's all started, as well as the co-pilot feature that comes in. How does that enhance the entire reporting and visualization aspect? How does that drill down, be like, how will that drill down be impacted by the entire scenario? So just to give you I think the introduction has already been given by about which was great. So to give you a bit about the agenda, so as I said, we're going to be talking about Power BI and its evolution, as well as introduce a little bit of Microsoft Fabric. I wanted to get into a more detailed use case, but unfortunately, I won't be able to. So I will be using a use case that is just developed in a few hours from now. So I think we could use that for our presentation. So we will be using that, as well as go into some learning and certification capabilities, how it can make anyone who's interested in Microsoft Fabrics to build careers and expertise, how they can sort of get into the learning aspect as well. Also look into a little bit of detail about what it needs to be done on Microsoft Fabric, um, in order to enable Copilot feature on Power BI. So these are some of the things that we are going to be discussing um, in the presentation. So, it all started. Power BI was a small tool and add-on started in Excel as a Power Pivot table. It it started as that small tool, and then it became this huge application, and one of the most popular applications, as we see it with the Gartner's analytics quadrant, that it has been leading for the last 2 to 3 years. Although I personally am an SAP consultant, I do work with SAP. I think it's a great application. I'm working with them, but then Microsoft is just like sort of giving a good competition. It's a good competitor. So I like to be around the analytics ecosystem with different providers. So I think that's been interesting. So let's just look at the journey. What's been happening, right? All started in 2006 as a side project by some of the Microsoft's employees as part of the SQL Server reporting services and product line, and then it also became an add-on in Excel. Then it went into Power Views as an add-on to bring some visual capabilities. Once it was successful, I think there was a point where they decided to make it a product, or an official product for Office 365. So then it became Power BI, an official dashboarding and reporting product, also having some data modeling capabilities. So that was done, and then some sort of natural language features came in, which was very introductory, but slowly and gradually it started developing. After that, we saw a lot more capabilities coming in with new connectors, whether it's connecting to Python, R packages, or other sort of pandas, data sources, as well as notebooks, embedding Power BI in notebooks. So that was interesting, and also to see that also getting integrated with SAP, which I'm personally, working with. It has provided a lot of capability for SAP customers to use Power BI, whether if they do have a business warehouse or a data warehouse, and they would want to move into use a Power BI, leverage Power BI, if it's there in the landscape, they could do that by using both the products, right? Then it all became further more advanced and went into services where they had a Power BI service for which would connect to the Azure data lakes or Azure storage, and provide more capability on the cloud side of things. Uh, we saw furthermore improvement coming in with new features with reporting and bringing AI capabilities to it with some introductory sort of insights, providing insights to the reports. For example, if any of these reports are being used by senior stakeholders and they would want to see it by just sort of doing a search and seeing if that could be possible, that started coming in, but it was still not perfect. But that was the introduction there. We saw an improvement in much more capabilities in terms of extracting data from data lakes and building models within the cloud and extracting that aspect on Power BI. So that became a huge hit, and that gave it an exponential push towards the towards the like towards while comparing it with the competitor. Recently in 2020, it became excuse me, so it became a very popular sort of product with the power platforms product suite. So became a part of power platforms. So which included obviously Power Apps and Power Automate and virtual agents, which is now also, you know it's bringing in more value now, so that users can low code the scenarios and build an app on on their dashboards and insights that they have produced for different teams, or so the C-suite, right? And then we see a huge change in how visualizations are coming in. We've seen a lot of visualizations from a data point of view as well, to detecting any anomalies, connecting it with Azure Analysis Service to see if there are any changes going on in the data, and also detect that on a Power BI data set. So that came in and made it even more stronger uh, with their competitors. Finally, since we see the recent partnership of OpenAI with Microsoft, that sort of leveraged a new birth of Copilot, and then that sort of is an obviously an integration that came into Microsoft Fabric, which again sort of enhanced the entire user experience of the Power BI and the Fabric landscape. So we see that Power BI is has come a long way, and so even if we compare like the Gartner's quadrant, which is obviously highly reputative in bringing insights about what's going on in technology, we look at how these different players are performing. SAP has been there. It's been a visionary. They are building products that are great. Then Microsoft also is starting to come up with new solutions with the Copilot feature. It has given them a little bit of an edge, and Salesforce coming in with their Einstein AI model. So there's basically, there's been a huge competition between all these sort of major players in analytics. So moving on, I'll get into the Microsoft Fabrics. What exactly is Microsoft Fabrics? As we saw in the last session, it was a lot more in detail, but I'm not going to get into a lot of that detail because that was very specific to data lakes, as well as one lake to be more specific, right? So, but here, what I'm going to be touching on is all the features of Microsoft Fabrics. What does it bring to the table? How does it improve the data warehousing experience as well as data management and security as well? How do we, sort of analyze any upcoming anomalies or any changes happening in the data, and also have some corrective actions on top of it. So as we can see, there are key features. The key features are obviously, the data engineering part, as well as the data factory that Fabric provides, as well as the Power BI visualization layer, which tops it up as like an all one-stop solution for the data needs. So moving on, and the interesting part is this SaaS solution is built upon one lake, which is obviously a data lake initiative by Microsoft, which sort of provides a whole breadth of capabilities to all these services. That's the In order to enable Microsoft Power BI, um, Power BI's use on Microsoft Fabric, there are two particular things that need to be done. Um, Copilot is one thing, but semantic modeling is obviously that needs to be pushed and published to the data for the data sources in order to provide a streamlined access to with the data from the Microsoft Fabric platform, as well as also enable settings for the Microsoft Fabric, um, in order to, sort of have the full capabilities on the Power BI platform. Let me just show a few other things that I can, share my screen and show you this entire experience of what's been really happening in Microsoft Fabric. So, okay. So as you can see, if we go into Microsoft Fabric, we have these 5 to 6 big pillars of, like, main pillars of the product. You can, since everything is still sort of evolving and developing, you can read up about it, or go get into the community to explore more details. So if I just sort of deep dive into, Microsoft Power BI here, there's already some sample use cases that were developed earlier. So for example, if you take a look at, for example, there was there was like a data set that I had produced earlier from the just a second, let me show you. So it was from the lake house. So one of the things that is important is when you're developing, when you're extracting a lake house data set, you need to have a semantic model on top of it, and then in order to sort of like, in order to see what's really happening with that data, it's important to just see what's really um, how can we visualize it while we before we develop any reports, right? So let's see if this loads. Otherwise, we'll use another data set to preview. I think it's taking a while. Um, Let me open another one. So for example, is a if there is a data source we've extracted and we would want to view its semantic model, we could just go to this screen. This says explore data. And on the right hand side, you will see some of the dummy data. This is just a dummy data that I've just sort of added in order to see what's really happening. Um, it's just not a very clean data set, but just to have us understand what what's really happening here. Just okay. I think it's going into the okay. Yeah, it's going into other places. Let's just remove this. And so yeah, yeah. So just some dummy data to just sort of see how this can be visualized before actually developing a dashboard. So this is just like a one of the examples here. Other than that, you can get into some of the other features here. So um, let me just go back to this. Anyway, let me just open up another example. So that was whatever you saw now is the model, the semantic model that gets produced from the data that's been extracted. Next thing is, let's say this is like a some small example about the about some reports that can be developed and that can be added to teams, and you can add subscriptions based on that. Let's say if you want to subscribe that to your user, maybe weekly or daily, they can receive that. That can be done there. Other than that, in terms of data management, um, there is a data activator feature. So what, for example, if this is something that if someone wants to understand the health of the data. The data activator is very useful in terms of how you can view what's really happening, on what sort of events are taking place within the data, what sort of movements are going on right now. Also specific, let's say specifically for any, yeah, if there are any specific entries at specific points, what's happening, how do we place a trigger? Let's say if it passes at a certain threshold, it can be or it fails a couple of times in 3 years, so it can raise a message or over the email or over the, you know, over the, let's say, an application, or you can create custom actions here and then you can add more details. So you can like add some activators here and send SMSs over this. That's that's that. You can manage the access of this. I'm trying to open just a second. Oh, that's yeah, gosh, okay, that's just, okay, that is just basically just sort of providing us some sort of stats, and then that's the triggers, okay. If something passes a certain threshold, what needs to be done, right? Then, okay. So for example, there's a few other examples. Let's say if you're measuring something, and let's say, let's take an example of human resources. Uh, they want, let's say if the team wants to know a certain threshold is being met or not, but they don't really want to know it in a form of a dashboard, because dashboards can be confusing. So they would want to have some sort of scorecard, or you know, or um, some sort of API scorecard, or like some sort of an application where, or a web page where they can specifically go and see by their goals. Let's say if they have monthly goals and weekly goals, and they would want to keep a track of those KPIs. Instead of going into a very cluttered dashboard, it can make them confused, as to how do we follow a certain scenario, how do we follow a strategy. If we are following a strategy and we have goals, how do we keep track of it? So that's what really happens in organizations where they don't know what's really happening, and they get derailed with their goals, right? So I think this feature really helps how each and every thing can be tracked, and how is it being performing uh, month to date. Let's say month over month there is an increase, and it's due on such as such so and so date. So we have a deadline here to measure all those kind of things, right? So if you get into the specific details, it can give you a track record of what's really happening, for specific months, or maybe month to date, or maybe history. You can choose the time period, and you can use the cycles if you want to measure it quarterly, monthly, weekly. Let's see this. Let's say for this one is there's like a, okay. So they're trying to open up a new sales team. They're opening up maybe department, a sales department or something, and they're hiring. And based on that, they're still behind on their targets. So that can impact them or make them understand they're not putting an effort, and they're running behind on their goals, right? Similarly, um, you see here, yeah, I think all these metric tracking can help get closer to the strategy. And then based on that, there can be a flow created. Let's say if you want to create a this would be a flow created in Power Automate. You can look into it in more detail, or we can discuss it in a separate session. But what does a flow do of these other triggers? Let's say if they are running behind on performance, an automated email should be sent to them every now and then, or maybe a Teams message can be sent through a bot. So that can be done with the use of Flow, with the Power Automate Flow. It will provide them a bit more, like a push notification going into their mailbox. So so there are a bunch of other examples for sales. Let's say um, something's happening. There's a sales cycle monitoring. All those kind of things are there. Sort of measuring sales funnels. All that can be automated. Before we used to do that on a dashboard. Now that can be done in an application that can provide more context. And so that's sort of helping you improve and be more efficient, right? Over here, you'll see all the tools for data lake house using notebooks to extract or clean the data, import new ones. Um, so there's this example you can see here. Learning it, there's a data engineering starter kit which can guide you step by step on how to use all these resources. There's an entire, if you see here, entire learning um, instructions, and you can go into it bit by bit. Okay, so that's Microsoft Fabric. But an important thing to remember here is that um, how do we utilize Copilot, which is in terms of capability, making it more capable. Copilot, using Copilot in Power BI and Microsoft Fabric. How do we use that? There are specific settings that are mentioned over here. I've taken down some uh, details. So okay, let me just go. So there is a specific setting in Microsoft Fabric which needs to be turned on. There's a tenant setting which needs to be like enabled. And while having this Power BI premium account or Power BI Pro licenses, this needs to be switched on in order to access the use cases for Microsoft Fabric. And this in turn sort of helps you provide more context and the use in the within the use case. I actually don't have the use case yet, but what I can do is share a video which can provide more detail. I think it's limited to certain regions at the moment, so I think what we can do right now is just let's see the let's go over a video first. Let me share screen. Okay. So let me know if you can
Power
hear
BI is empowering everyone to quickly find and
in
share
the
insights.
sound.
For example, say I'm a
Abad,
sales
can you hear
analyst
it?
for a hotel and
Yeah, you can hear
resorts
it.
company. Now, with Copilot and Power BI, I can
Can you
simply
hear the video sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
describe the report I want to build and get insights in seconds. Maybe we need a new report to help us understand the profile of our customers, to gain insights into what is driving return visits to our properties. I just describe what I need, and Copilot will automatically analyze my data and create a new report based on my needs. Immediately, Copilot created a new Power BI report that is fully interactive, and I can start slicing and dicing my data to explore deeper. Copilot added the charts and slicers I requested, but also conveniently gives me options to adjust the output to get just what I'm looking for. For example, let's switch to ask for metrics and trends and a slightly different layout. Automatically, Copilot up. Let's go ahead and keep this report page, but it goes much further. I can also ask analysis questions such as, what are the main drivers for repeat customer visits? Copilot responds by adding a new page to my report and uses Power BI's built-in advanced analysis capabilities for finding key influencers for variables in my data. Right away, I can see that customers who purchase spa visits are the most likely to be repeat visitors, followed by those who rented sports equipment. I can easily explore Power BI's key influencer visual further to learn more. I can even automatically see the most significant segments in my data just by clicking. Now let's go back to the first page and finish up our new report. I'm going to ask Copilot to make it look like our existing sales dashboard. Copilot automatically finds and references the dashboard to adjust my report with formatting and layout to match. Best of all, I can still interact directly with the Power BI report Copilot has created. So, for example, if I wanted to manually change this line chart to add the reason customers were visiting, it's easy to do with just a few clicks. Let's also change the line chart to a ribbon chart to make the data really stand out. Finally, to make the report even easier for my team to understand, I'm going to ask Copilot to add a rich text of my data right inside the report. This narrative summary is fully dynamic, and not only does Copilot highlight interesting insights from my data, but it provides citations from where in the report the data was taken. This summary will update every time the data is refreshed, or people filter the report with new insights based on the data. And just like that, in seconds, I've created a report that would have taken hours or days to do manually. Copilot, built on top of Azure OpenAI, is truly revolutionary for how we empower everyone to find and share insights.
Okay. So that's basically the function, although it's still not available for a lot of the regions yet. But yeah, hopefully they have that soon applicable for a lot of these regions. Um, Also, if you let's just go to the let's go to back to the presentation. I think I'm just gonna share, I think, a few more things. So, so Microsoft Fabric is an up and coming platform that's expanding really rapidly. And in order to like understand more of the context, I think it's good to get into the learning aspect. So, so let's just see if there are some learning resources there. So one of the good learning resources are, that there's already a learning path there for everyone to look into when it comes to, let's say, Microsoft. From learnmicrosoft.com, there are a bunch of courses, but I think the real thing is this, which is still obviously in the beta stages, but soon it's going to be into a very polished version the certification, and that includes everything. So if you look at it, it gives you a holistic view of if of the entire, data engineer slash data analyst role, right? You could look into it and you could start, sort of learning about it from all the way from many lake houses, implementations to data lakehouses to notebooks to, reporting and dashboards. So all that can be done, that can be learned as well, and then done and start, sort of using the trial, the 60-day trial that Microsoft gives, and utilize it for improving skills. So that can be done. I think once there's a certification exam, and then there's the actual certification that helps you sort of become certified in one of these areas for analytics engineer. So that's a certification, and I think I would highly recommend anyone coming into this role to, sort of utilize it and sort of do the certifications and use the trial to get more expertise. It's an up and coming upcoming platform, and still new, but I think there's a lot of capabilities involved. So, yeah, I think that's it for me. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in and let me know. And see, I think we don't have any question. Let's see. There's a
Okay.
Q&A.
So, Misbah, I wanted to ask, as you already told that Copilot is not available in many regions of within the world. So, is it available in the South Asian region as it's for Pakistan? I'm asking.
For Pakistan, it's not, but obviously you can then if the company is still interested, they can start with a US tenant, where the entire data source is going to be obviously the US tenant, where they're going to be using the
Okay.
data Azure data lake and everything. So that's going to be their initially that's going to be used. But obviously, if a lot of companies prefer having more regionally and have more flexibility in terms of data laws, right? So there is also another Microsoft's data center in Middle East. So a lot of Middle Eastern companies are using that tenant, and it is still not, I think, available there. I think it will take a while to come into that data center and that tenant, Middle Eastern tenant. So yeah, but yeah, I think we can already see how much more capabilities are coming,
Yeah.
and how things will change, how we work on on all these tools, because the way we used to work, it used to take us a lot longer than now. We are seeing it's reducing our time almost like
Obviously.
50%. Yeah.
So, are you currently using it on your current job?
Not yet, but
Okay.
it's something, it's part of the strategy.
Okay.
Like I think we would want to at some point use it in the future, but not it would also depend who's interested in Microsoft Fabric, right? If the
Yeah.
client is interested, then we could sort of implement them, help them implement, get on with it. So it's an interesting area, and yeah, I think I would highly recommend anyone who's probably like a bigger company or mid-sized company that has a lot of data issues. I think they should start exploring this before it gets too late. So I think it's
Okay.
early times are here. So building use cases is a good opportunity. All right, so I think uh, we're good.
Yeah.
Since we are moderating this session, so yeah, we can stick around. And anyone who's viewing this, they can take a break until 1 p.m. The next session starts. at 1 p.m. And I think who's presenting it? I think it's
Tiago
yeah, Tiago is presenting. So Tiago is gonna be back with
at one.
yeah at 1 and running. Yeah, he's gonna be talking about a lot of Azure app services and stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think um, Abad can sort of talk about it in more detail later on.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Uh, yeah. So I'm gonna stop my screen and everything, and yeah, we can continue later on about yeah.
Okay, sure. Thank you.